Hi everyone, welcome. My name's Andrea. In today's video, we're going to talk about the importance of midline movements and awareness at every age. So what I do is I teach people how to use movements to create what they want in their life with greater ease. That could mean a greater ease of learning, more emotional stability, and even sometimes a greater ease in moving. If you are watching now and you are enjoying the videos, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button, click the bell button. That way, when I post a new video, you will be notified. Share this video also with like-minded individuals, and let's just get started talking about the midline. Okay, so what is the midline? The midline literally is the middle of your body, the midline. So it would run straight up and down the middle of your body. Okay, and awareness of this midline is crucial for so many coordination skills, academic skills, and general left-right brain communication. We generally have a good sense of our midline by about 4 years old, but that doesn't always happen. And when that doesn't happen, things become harder for the individual without midline awareness. Now, don't panic if after this video you go home and with your child you try some things, or with people in your class, or even with yourself if you notice that your midline awareness isn't strong. Don't panic. You've learned to compensate, or the person that you're working with has compensated just fine thus far, and knowledge is power. So now you can use movement to help enhance midline awareness. So ideally, as I said, by about 4 years old, an individual will have a sense of midline. But if they don't, and like I said, they've compensated, they're doing okay, but here are the kind of things that you might see if there is not a midline awareness. So you're probably going to see difficulty academically. Certainly, gross and fine motor skill coordination is going to be tricky for somebody without a midline awareness. Learning in general at school will be difficult. Sometimes even the social, emotional aspect is compromised, but more so physical skills of academic learning. So difficulty writing, difficulty with letter formation. These are all midline awareness skills. You need the base of the midline awareness. Now, a lot of students and a lot of people, like I said, will compensate if they don't have this awareness, but it's not at the optimal ease of life, right? If you're constantly compensating for what you don't have as a foundation, life is harder. So why not get this awareness and make things just a little bit easier? If you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if any of what I've said so far is resonating with you, then just take note, because you're probably tuning into something that needs attention for your student or your son or daughter. So here are some things to look for that would show you that maybe there isn't a good sense of midline awareness. All right, so if you notice when you're trying to teach the capital letter A, or when whoever you're working with or whoever we're talking about was learning the capital letter A, and this might even apply to you. When we have a sense of midline, we also have a sense of it in what we're looking at. So we would know that this is about the midline of the page, and if I was asked to draw an A on this page, I would have a sense of midline, knowing that the A has a midline, and it would look something like this, right? If I'm lacking a sense of midline, learning this A, it's going to look something like this to either side of the midline. So it's going to be sort of on its side, and they're doing their best. But because they can't cross the midline, because they don't have that awareness, letter formation becomes difficult. Let me show you now what it would look like with the same idea, but trying to draw an X, okay? So if you have your student, these are great little tests. And again, when you're doing this with students, please, please, please know that if a student doesn't have midline awareness and you're thinking maybe they don't center them out. Don't do this in front of other people, because life is already just a little bit harder for them, I promise you. So this is the kind of thing where you encourage them. If you see that what they're drawing is telling you that there's no midline awareness, be okay with it. Encourage them. Good job. Great, great. And then instead of constantly trying to get them to draw the A like we just did, just like we do, because they don't have that midline awareness. So this is like banging your head against a wall. Eventually, they'll be able to do what we're asking them to do, but it's going to be under duress. They're going to be stressed out because it's just not natural. What you need to do is teach them midline movements that draw their body's attention to their midline, get a sense of it in themselves, and then go back to the academic task. It's going to be so much easier for everybody, including you. So if I was to draw an X on the page, it's going to look something like this, because I have a sense of where that midline is. So the extreme is they're actually going to draw you the T. That's the extreme. But what you also might get, let's see if I can do this, is something like that. So the X, it's there, but that's there. And this is not quite right. So that tells me what I need to do with this student is stop trying to make them form the letter X, and I need to take them away from the task, and I need to do physiological movements that help create a sense of midline. Okay, so that was a pencil paper activity that you could use to see how much awareness of the midline there is. There are physical movements you can do as well to check for these midline awareness. So let me just put my stuff down here. So one of the easiest, to me, the easiest way to check for midline awareness is to ask children to do an activity that has them crossing the midline gross motor wise. Now, introducing this in the classroom or even with kids or even with seniors, you want to be really careful, because again, these people are probably pretty aware of what they can't do, and you don't want to draw attention to them. So we start, or I like to start, really gently. So the first thing I would do is ask people to simply take one hand and, put it on the opposite shoulder. And then I would ask them to take one hand and put it on the opposite shoulder. I need to cross the midline in order to get there. You might see something like this at first when they're trying to mimic you if they don't have a good midline awareness. But this is a pretty gentle one, so just getting them to slowly do this. Another thing, if you have people sitting at a desk, is having them reach across to one side and across to the other. This is a midline movement, okay? Really important, because midline movements, when you cross the midline, you are asking the left and right brain to create neurological connections or rely on those connections to do what you're asking them to do. And these left-right brain communications are what are needed for higher level skills. They are foundational in so many coordination skills. There's way more to the brain than left-right communication. Just want to put that in there. There's front, back, side, side, top, bottom. But it is important to have that left-right brain communication and that going through the corpus callosum and helping helping create neurological foundations, again, for which higher level thinking, higher level skills happen. Here's another one, but this one gets tricky, is if you can see my knee, I'm going to take my elbow to my knee. So all of this can be done sitting in a chair, and this is a midline movement. What you're going to notice, and this happens in adults as well, is you will see that some people want to do this because they don't have that automatic highway going. This, right now, I'm creating neurological connections between the left and right sides of my brain, which is huge. And if the connections are there, I'm actually strengthening them. So then when I go to do other things that require coordination, I've already got a base. So huge. Just want to talk about one more note with adults who have a hard time with this. I was doing a workshop for seniors recently, and one of the participants in there, we were standing, but she was doing this movement, and it looked something like, she was going like, so she was trying to cross, but she was using, it was a Homo lateral movement, meaning one side at a time was trying to cross, and she really believed that she was crossing using opposite hand, opposite leg. So that just involved a little noticing, a little gentle. Like I said, I don't tell anybody they're doing it wrong. I just make the subtle suggestion. Something else that I found really fascinating with one of those seniors was he was able to get ready for the movement by having an elbow up and a knee up, but he wasn't able to connect them. So midline movements are really, really important. They're important for all of us. All of us can benefit. It's not just children that need them. We may have grown up with a great midline awareness, but if we don't constantly do cross-lateral movements, we will lose the connections, because the more they're used, the more they're strengthened. That's just the way it works. All right, I hope that I was able to show you a little bit, teach you a little bit about midline awareness, teach you what to look for in writing, what to look for in a gross motor activity. As my mentor says, one day volumes are going to be written on this simple cross-lateral movement and how just amazing it is. If you like this video, make sure to click the like button below. Please do comment and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy. Probably necessary.